let's see, we do not yet have AJ or anyone from the core team. But why don't we go ahead and get started? And it's kind of buried in the QA, but I want to hear, let's jump right into the rock release, since I know there's been a lot of activity there, and maybe start with you, Sean.
Yeah, sure, Larry. So yeah, we identified that why Rock wasn't starting up properly is because there was no default storage class specified in the RKE installation, and so we set about finding a suitable candidate for storage class, and we tried out Longhorn, but Jordan advised against it because it replicates all the blocks across all the nodes in the cluster, and that's a function that's already done by Atomics. So instead, we settled on local path provisioner, and it's a project from Rancher, and now there's a patch up there that basically installs the local path provisioner onto RKE if there's no default storage class found at the time of installation. So I've tested it with latest and Ether and release 2.1, and it works. It does what it says. Atomics and Rock and everything start up properly. If you bring Rock down and leave the PVCs in place, the files get stored locally on the node, and if you start up Rock again, it finds those PVCs and the local storage, and it retrieves or restores all the data, and it's doing, I think, everything that we needed to do for Aether in a box. So I have a patch up there. It's listed in the Aether 3661 that you have there, and I'm looking for somebody to give it a thumbs up, and we can get back to saying that Aether in a box is no longer broken for latest and release 2.1.
Yeah, thanks. I like the fix. I was curious about Longhorn. I mean, the fact that it replicates what Atomics was already doing is a really good point. It had worried me a little bit, but is there? I'm slightly going to open the question up a little bit, and to Ether storage. I'm guessing that's something we don't want to take on. I actually, in on-ramp, left Longhorn as an option because if you wanted it for other reasons, then it's already there. Do you see any other value there, or you're sort of looking at this purely as a Rock fix?
Yeah. I mean, like a lot of cluster technologies actually do use this local path provisioner. I was just looking at Kind today, and its default storage class is this local path provisioner, and that's used as a general purpose, for development and test kind of scenarios. It's used as the default storage class, and any PVs that are created will be created as just local file storage on the node. So I kind of think it's useful as a generally all-purpose solution for Aether in a box. But there is also the possibility that somebody's installing this onto GKE or something, and in that case, GKE will have a default storage class, and that's the one that will get used. So when Atomics tries to look for storage, it'll just look to the default storage class, whatever's configured on that cluster, and it will create instances there. So we're not hard coding anything into the solution here. Really, for me, the way I think of it is like the PVs come up from below. I mean, they're configured like your compute resources, like your nodes. They're configured by the administrator. And then the PVCs come down from on top requesting storage. And if the two match, yes, you get the storage. And so I think there's a very flexible and loosely coupled kind of arrangement here that, Atomics is fairly flexible on what kind of PVs it gets. And, you know, it will work with cloud storage, or it'll work with local storage like this, or it'll work with whatever the default storage class is. So yeah, I don't think we're hard coding it into anything here.
So that's, yeah, I like that. In fact, one thing I took away from what you just said is that this particular storage is in some sense RKE specific. I mean, I noticed that in the latest patch, you actually bundled it in with the bringing up of RKE. So you consider it an aspect of RKE. If you brought up some other Kubernetes, you would bring up some other storage.
Yes, exactly.
And likewise, you probably wouldn't use this storage if you were not an RKE. I don't even know if that works.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just in the Ether in a box scenario, they haven't specified a default storage class or any storage class. And, that forces the test installer or the development installer to think about storage when really, they're not thinking about it in the same way as somebody deploying on the cloud would be.
Yeah, that's right.
So like when I had been testing Ether in a box, I was testing it on kind, and I didn't see any problems because there was already a storage class there. And the same on Micro K8s. So all those cluster technologies have a default storage, but it's RKE specifically didn't. So
all right, so now back to older versions of Rock, which I'm running. I exchanged an email with you, 35, 33, and so on. I didn't dig into it, but it didn't work with this particular solution. Do you have any inkling as to why that would be, or is that a surprise?
Yeah, so the reason they didn't work is because they need a different Atomics. They need Atomics runtime version 1.0.1.9, right? So when you went to install 2.1 with 2.1.33, for example, the Atomics probably was in there from the base kind of installation of 2.1 here. I'm not familiar with the exact scenario you used.
So I think everything was lined up. It was Rock 2.1.30. Let's just take 33, 2.1.33. And it was Atomics runtime 0.9.6 or something like that.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, so I think that was it was untouched from before. But when I had that particular storage turned on, it didn't work. And I didn't dig into it. So I therefore assumed it needed to be conditional on having the newest version of Rock.
Oh, okay. And when you installed those things, how did you bring up the cluster? Did you go make Rock 5G models or something, or did you do it piece by piece? You did
I do it step by step.
Right. Okay. And so you probably started out from having RKE, you added this local path provisioner, and then on top of that, you installed Atomics, and on top of that, you installed Ether Rock Umbrella 2.1.3.
Well, actually, once I had RKE and then I turned the storage on, I brought up the Rock Umbrella, which then by dependency brought up Atomics and the ONOS operator.
Right. Okay, yeah, I don't know why that would be. Yeah, I mean, those earlier versions always worked on RKE without having a default storage class. I don't know how they did it. I think what they did is they just ran it in memory. Or they persisted the data in memory, when storage wasn't available. But we
I
can,
suppose that could be.
yeah. But I don't know how
Why they
having a
wouldn't
storage
work.
class would cause them not to work.
All right, well, we can take that offline and maybe, I mean, one option is just to keep it optional, which is what I've done. Okay,
Right, in your on-ramp, is it?
yeah. So
Yeah.
just FYI, in on-ramp, I'll just put it in here because this is related. See the candidate branch. My strategy was until I knew that it worked, I kept it in a branch and then I would merge it into master and it would become its own standalone blueprint. And all the older ones that already worked, I just would bump them back and they would be an archived version of the release.
Sorry, what did you say you did with them?
I turned them into I call it archive. It's just previous versions, or you can also run previous versions.
And did you do that by renaming, keeping an old branch, or you
No.
just had
The only
configs
time
for
branches
all
come
those?
into play is in candidate, something I had not yet
Oh,
demonstrated work. In master,
right, you have configs or something.
all right, so there are latest 4G radio, 5G radio, and then released 2.1x.
Right.
And then I'm not showing it here, but the candidate is a branch. It's not a blueprint.
Oh yeah. I see your list on the left-hand side. You've got 2133, 2135.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you go in here, then the config explicitly calls out,
right, I get it. Yeah. You're specifically calling those. Yeah, so I don't have an answer as to why it wouldn't work with that local path provisioner installed. Maybe we can get Jordan to give an answer on that.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so thanks for that update. This all sounds very promising. Is there anything else on that issue? Maybe we pop up to the QA question here.
AJ, do a point? Or sorry, it was somebody was making a point there, wasn't it?
No, this is Sagar. So I couldn't follow the entire discussion. However, I just wanted to, ask you this: that what is there any action item on the QA for this, and what it is basically?
Right. I think the action item is on developers to approve the patch that I have put in. And I mean, there's a lot of people out. So maybe Larry, you would have to be the one to give it an approval, or else if we're okay with it, I can just give it code review to myself.
Yeah, I mean, I can give it approval, but go ahead. It is fine for Ether in a box.
Yeah, and I couldn't see Jordan's name in the system, but he gave me an approval on a Teams message.
Yeah. So yeah, record it here. Go ahead.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So Sagar, back to your question then. I don't know if there's a particular action item for validation. I think now that we'll have a running version of Ether in a box, I think definitely we want to try it out. I mean, really, I've only validated it by hand, and I think it would be good to for other people to validate that it's working.
Yeah, definitely that would be helpful. So, Sean, a request to you: once this patch kind of gets approved, will you be help us to talk to mention about the rock versions that we need to use along with the SD core versions or the Aether versions that we need to use, and then all those combinations of the versions so that we can try this out?
Yeah. So basically, the answer is Ethernet latest is exactly what you want to test.
Okay. Okay, and yeah, and if we do that, then this issue will, I mean, this will take care of the persistent volume issue, right?
Yes.
Okay, and I believe that that is different than the fix, that is different than the bug Aether 3661.
No, 3661 was about the maybe you can just click on it there, Harry.
Yeah, so that's about the API and the response.
Oh, sorry. Yes, it is different. You're right.
Right.
That's a different issue. Sorry about that. The issue for the persistent volume is oh, where do I have it? It is evading me. Is 3666.
Okay.
You could probably just say it on the title bar there, I guess, for the address bar. So yeah, 3661 is still awaiting a fix and some attention, but what we're talking about here would fix 3666.
Yeah, okay, thanks. So this would fix the Aether in a box, right? And I believe the original this issue was reported by Kajit team, and Kajit team was using Aether standalone. That's what my that's what my current understanding is.
Well, no, I don't think so. I think there was another issue that Kajit saw, and it wasn't related to Ether in a box. I don't know what that other issue was. But this 3666 is only related to Ether in a box. It's not about running it standalone.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so I'll just unfortunately Amit is not here. He's still on the Kajit call, I believe. So
Okay.
tomorrow morning I'll confirm with him and the other team members that in what configurations this persistent volume issue was seen, and if it is if it is applicable, then we'll try to see if we can verify there. If not, then we'll have to do a separate test for AIOV only.
Yeah. Do you know of any other issue numbers that are open there, Sergey?
No, I do not know the issues that are open, and I believe those issues, I don't know whether those issues were been reported into the ONF Jira as such, because it is recently that we started using the Jira here, so I don't know any of the previous issues that are there.
Okay, yeah, it might be good to add it, even if it's duplicates. I mean, it would help us track it here.
Right. So I'll ask the Kajit QA team to do this.
Yeah, okay. And I will be raising another issue to update the documentation about the whole storage class discussion. So yeah, I mean, for people who are installing Ether in a box, sorry, people who are installing Ether Rock Umbrella in various circumstances probably do need to know about storage classes, and we'll add documentation for that. But that's not something really for test. Okay, that's probably all I had, Larry.
Okay.
Right. Larry, just one more question. Sorry to keep this if this has been dragged. So as a part of the verification of 3666, we can do that if it is only related to the IEP. Do you want us to also check it with Aether on RAM on the candidate branch?
Not at the moment. I'm still futzing with the way that OnRamp deals with storage, and that was kind of the reason for the questioning before, whether I'll let you know when it's ready for testing there.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
All right. So I think we're ready to talk I'm kind of moving inside out here. Let's bump up to SD core.
Kunal?
Hello?
Yeah, I'm here, Larry. I'm just trying to see like what update I should provide. Like I did like last week we provided SMF thing which was verified by GS Lab. Then MongoDB I did try many times in my setup, and I updated the defect, and the same thing I see that GS Lab updated saying that they also don't see that MongoDB crash. And then there is one more which is a GNodeB SIM crash. I don't know what is the fourth one now. So I know only these three, or at least three are assigned to me. So the third one was about the GNodeB SIM crash, but that's about like maybe just documentation missing. Currently, we expect the GNodeB names to be GNB1, GNB2, and GNB3, something like that. That I will probably look at the possibility of making it a flexible naming, so that if somebody wants to give any different name, right, it should still work. But it's as per the expectation as of today. So let me just log into the meeting doc agenda and see what is this fourth defect. Is there like GSLab people know about what is this fourth one?
Yes, Kunal, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. So I believe the issues that Ajay is talking about is there are two GNodeB issues, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Can you talk about
No,
those?
I was aware about only one GNodeB crash. Can you probably tell me what is the second one?
Yeah. The bug number is 3665.
Okay, it's a bit difficult to get the meeting link. Can you probably explain me if you don't mind, just what is that about?
Yeah. So GNodeB system was always using GNodeB one, even if a different GNodeB name is provided in the profile.
Yeah, that's what I told. Yeah, that's what I said. Like it is expected that it's GNB1, GNB2, GNB3. That's what was the only thing is probably it was not documented well. So maybe that could be the reason why you tried the different GNodeB name, right? But what is the other issue you were saying in the GNodeB?
Other one was the code dump that we have seen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that under specific condition you see, like?
Yes, code dump we
Okay.
see when a DNB name is a different value. So
Oh yeah, I mean you're coming back to the same, right? Is it okay? Both.
Yes.
Okay, then they're connected, right? 3665 and 3669 both are connected about the naming convention. So probably while I go ahead and fix it, maybe if you can keep it the GNB1, GNB2 that way, it might help. Yeah, I need to fix the code. Yeah.
Yeah, so we can continue our testing with considering the GNB1 as the default and the limited. I mean, that's a limitation. Current feature limitation has to be, and we can continue the rest of the testing there. That would be the way forward. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
And apart from this, like I was working with the Purdue, like Bilal from Purdue University. Like she was looking for some of the features like GNodeB handover. I have started working on it. There's going to be good amount of feature development there. Let me see. Like it possibly might be the code development where I might give good amount of template coding to Bilal, and then he might fill in the gaps. And so that's the one of the area we were working. So there are two features which are coming up on the GNodeB SIM. One is the supporting handover, and other is about how do we support the data within the GNodeB SIM.
So it would be great if we could, and maybe, let me just start another bullet down here, because GNB SIM is increasingly important. Can you just walk through the features that you have in mind? One of them was
currently handover, like XN handover and N2 handover. These are the two types of handover. which is like one of the key feature which is missing. And second is about the providing the interface for taking the data traffic from the external world, right? So if we can create the interface and
Yep.
then user can use any application to pump in the traffic, right? These are the two high priority features. Otherwise,
Good.
I think in the past I have listed the most of the pending features, right, or future request in the GNODB Sims README document.
Okay, good. That's
Which has
yeah. I just wanted to
lots of
record that.
very big
So
list.
CG and BSIM. Read me. Good. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
So Larry, this brings up to one of the points that we were discussing with Timon in our daily stand-ups as well, and which kind of we have mentioned at the top, the first point, right? So as there would be some features adding up and other things, are we do we really? I mean, that's what our opinion is, that we should move to the agile and we should start sprinting on design plan.
Yeah, so that's a longer discussion, and it's absolutely good to know where all the features are. People are working, but I don't know how to do that just yet. So step one, we need a product manager, or whatever the right term is, to drive this. I mean, it kind of, yeah. It's one level I agree, but I don't know how to go. I don't know how to act on that in a sound way. What do others think?
Yeah, Larry, I think one thing is about planning, but other is like we should see more active contributions to do that agile. Right? If we don't see a lot of active contributions, then that may not be so useful, right? So,
Well,
but yes,
so
I mean, in general, if as and when new features get in, yeah, I mean, it's always good to test it right away.
So here's,
instead of waiting for the release.
Yeah, let me propose, and maybe we could consider this a step towards sprinting. That we dedicate next week's call to, I don't know, roadmap definition. Get everything on the table that people have on their own personal roadmaps, and try to understand what kind of coverage we have on the features that we as a group think are important. So personally, I'm thrilled to hear about the work on the GNB Sim. That's great. Certainly chasing down bugs has been kind of the dominant thing up to this point, but maybe we're close to being able to look forward a little bit more.
Well, I think maybe the other stories are more around the steps in on-ramp, like the cluster. We've talked about, maybe multiple GNBs, things like that, Larry.
Well, yeah, so on-ramp is certainly one, and I mean, this is a point where it overlaps, because I'm really looking forward to having data traffic on on-ramp, and just generally for Aether's sake, that we have a complete open source workload generator. Yeah, so I suppose you could argue you could tie it to on-ramp a little more strongly.
I'm just thinking of the different stories,
Yeah.
And then back
Oh,
to
no, I'm sorry, you're right. So there would be some on-ramp stories, since it'd be sim stories, some rock stories. Yeah.
And then I'm thinking about your comment about the lack of a product owner, and I guess I'm wondering if the TST can serve as the product owner. We're not talking about a particularly ambitious agenda right now, or is that impractical?
Yeah. So, oops. Oop. Let me think here. So this is for next week, but I'll flesh this out. Um, yeah, let's see if we can and flesh that out a little bit better next week. And go ahead and fill in, grab one of those bullets, and maybe I've missed a high level bullet as well. And we will spend some time on that next week. And then by implication, all of these features have testing that goes along with it.
Right. While we are on the SD core, just wanted to update one more point there. So Kunal right now is testing this SD core thing. Yeah, last week he had a family emergency, so that's why he couldn't. I mean, he was off for 3 to 4 days. That's why he couldn't do really much. But he plans to finish this SD core testing version 1.3 for the test cases that are clear to us. So those are, the 22 test cases, those are clear to us, and he has kind of executed 13 out of that. And he plans to complete the rest of the ones in this week. However, there are, I believe, some doubts and the questions that he has already pointed out into the document. So if we get clarifications and the doubt gets clear to us, if in this week, then we'll be able to write the cases and execute them further in the next week.
So could you add to the notes here the link to
that is the third one from the top for today's meeting.
I'm looking at number of P1 test cases executed 13 of 22.
You're right. So the just one, let me highlight it.
I'm sorry, the coverage is this one.
Right. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, that's the 13 of 22. Okay.
So currently all these are manually executed?
Yes.
Yes.
What's in general plan about automation? I believe there was some study and tools were done last month, right?
All right,
So is there any conclusion on the automation?
No, we are still going with your recommendation that for the non-functional ones we'll be using the UV RAMs, and for the functional ones we'll be using the GNodeB SIM there. So that is still with as you have recommended that. We have done some initial stuff there, how we can use it and what we can use it there. But in order to really qualify it better, it would be as a natural progression. What we see is that it would be helpful that if we get hand of all the cases manually first, and then we kind of keep adding and designing and developing the framework there, and then keep adding the cases there, because NG40 is out of the scope now.
But is this something like developing the framework completely, or is it about using the same set of test cases but just changing the tool from NG40 to something else?
Unfortunately, I do not have any clarity on this on it as of now.
Yeah, because this manual execution at someday it will be done, right? I mean, like maybe next few days or maybe month, then we are done. Then what next, right? So
yeah,
the
definitely.
real aim is that getting the CI, CI/CD.
Can I ask this another way? I mean, what I'm showing here, and maybe there's another page I should be going to, verify that the UE always gets specified static address. I mean, aren't these all steps in what GNB SIM is doing?
Yes.
Okay, so what does it mean to you're running the GNB SIM with a particular configuration, and that covers all 10 of those? Is that the right way to think of it?
Right.
So Larry, which one you're saying? Which test case?
First, I think first one is.
I'm sorry?
Which test case you're saying, Larry? Which row?
I'm just what I'm looking at is what's on this, what I'm sharing.
Yeah, so if I take just one of the example, right? Let's say row number 8, which is test case 7 number. It says that to verify that okay, test case 7 and row number 8. So verify UE with the static IP address is communicate with the UE having the dynamic IP address, right? So it's basically the test case suggests that have two UEs connected to the 5G network.
Right.
One UE gets the static IP address and one UE gets the dynamic. And now we need to make sure they can communicate with each other. Right. So this is just the description of the test case, but internally it means that there could be many more steps. Configuration steps, and then followed by two separate attach. One is like UE1, let's say, which gets static address, then attach UE2, which gets dynamic address. And then third step is like send traffic from UE1 to UE2, right?
Okay.
So my major thing, yeah, so these are just one-liner test cases, but it has like
multiple
probably multiple steps. Yeah, multiple
okay,
steps.
so let me
like
take it in the let me take it in the other direction. To execute 7, which I understand to be multiple step, is that how you do that is through the use of GNB sim, where you just
logically
have a
this
case
has
that you know two different UEs. Go ahead.
Yeah, so logically, this one-liner test case has no relation with the tool, whatever tool we use. Of course, I mean, there's a possibility that we state the intention that this test case we want to do, but then we may hit the limitation on the test tool saying that this test tool doesn't support this test case, right? That is possibility, right?
Right.
So yeah, I mean, so these are very generic test cases, and that's the reason in many cases I have provided the comment that either this functionality is not there in the GNodeB SIM, or sometime I have provided the comment saying that this functionality doesn't exist in the product, right? So I mean, these are good
so
to
this
have
is a great. This is a great example.
all are probably good.
This is a great example of that. You're not sure how you would actually test it. I mean, that's what the comment says.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you are sticking with the GNodeB SIM, then I don't know how we are going to test this, right? So, and of course, sometimes it depends on the product feature as well. Like P4 UPF used to support UE to UE communication, but the base UPF needs the upstream router to send back the traffic, right? So there are some changes in the, like base UPF doesn't loop back the traffic right there, right? So it sometimes it depends on the product feature also, right? In short, like what UPF we are testing, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the ambitious list, but trimmed down version could be very smaller one. What we can do as of today.
So back to 13 of 22. Does that mean 13 of 22 tests have been built, or 13 of 22 have been passed?
So 13
Kunal or Sagar can tell.
Yeah. 13 out of 22 are the test cases. Those have been executed. The ones those have failed, out for that we have filed the bugs.
Got it. So I saw 10 in that previous list, but I assume if I'd gone to other tabs, I would have found other ones. So you're not going to get to 22, probably.
So, so confusion, what I have, Larry, is that like the way we heard a few minutes back is that 13 is executed and rest of the 9 test cases failed, and there are bugs opened for that, which means that 22 is something we should reach at some day. As soon as all the bugs are fixed, we should reach 22. But then there are many more which probably QA wants to do it, but they are not able to do because of either they need some clarification, just help in terms of understanding the feature. That is the easiest thing we can immediately do. The second level of help could be like they need support in the GNodeB SIM or maybe any other tool, right? Which we don't have as of now.
What I would like to know is how many tests in the abstract are not currently supported by some tool. Can we answer that? Like that's number 7 we were just talking about.
I think it would be good if that coverage, right, there itself we have some column which says that this test case cannot be executed because of tool support, right? That was easy for.
No, that's extremely useful. That informs the tooling build out.
Yeah. So here, when we say it's some tool, is basically we are talking about the GNB SIM. Is that right understanding?
Currently, GNodeB SIM.
Probably not necessarily, but probably,
Yeah, so yeah, that is that, I mean, we are on the same page here, because based on whatever the test cases that we have written so far, those are based on all the documents that we have gotten, like release notes and other things. So based on that, we've kind of postulated or kind of imagined that how this functionality would be, and what we should be testing there. So if that imagination is more than what it is currently supported, yes, then definitely we would like to really know that which ones are the cases those are not supported. We can simply kind of mark them as accordingly, that these are not the supporters. We should definitely focus on executing the test cases which are I mean, the functionality which is present there, and that is exactly what we need inputs there.
Well, so in terms of inputs, once you understand how the GNB Sim tool works, then it's a matter of inventing the test that exploits it. And if you can't figure out how to do that, then obviously maybe someone else has an idea. It's not always a one-to-one direct thing. So
I think I'm hearing a discussion about two different things. Sagar seems to be asking, he's written up a bunch of theoretical tests, but the product itself might not support, I don't know, UE to UE traffic, for instance, if it's not supported in the UPF.
No. I mean, it's not about the product, it's about the testing tool.
Well, that's the point I'm making. I think Sagar
It's
was
both.
first asking.
It's both. Yeah, it's both actually. In some cases, it's product. In some cases, it's tool. Yeah, but
Right.
primarily we are seeing issues with the tool as of now. Whatever test cases are written. Yeah.
Right. So I'm just trying to tease those two apart, Larry. So I think there is a first question of there's some proposed tests here that just may not make any sense with the product. And Sagar's asking if we could get some help identifying those, and those should just be marked red. Then the second question is for those things that should work, then what tooling to use? That's, Larry, what you've been drilling down on. And GMB Sim is the shortlisted option, because we've been taking the commercial, NB40 tool off the table, but it's not clear if GMB Sim is full featured enough to do a number of these things. Am I making sense?
Yeah,
Yes,
I'm trying to
perfectly.
tease those
It's
apart
both.
here. There's tested features that do not exist. Obviously, you can't test something that doesn't exist. Test of supported features. And the question is, does test tooling support? And then what we have so far, that 13 of 22 is in this category, right?
I think that's right. And then maybe there's a fourth bullet around automation.
Yeah, I think we should really try to go to the fourth level, which is like getting those things automated with the identified tool, right?
Let me reword this because it's very awkward. There's which, I mean, that's clearly off the table. I don't know why that is even an issue here, but
well, because the
test of
QA
supported
team,
features, does the tooling support it? And if it does, then does it pass or fail? And if it and once we know that we have a good set of tests, we need to automate them.
right. Well, just on number one, the reason it's here is I think the QA team needs help from the developers to just go through this list of what they've proposed and flag.
Well, so this is what's confused me, because I thought that list came originally from AJ. So why would there be something on there that isn't supported?
No, I think I did provide the list. What is it? The test cases we did in the 1.3 release. But this coverage, right? I think this is what created my GS lab based on the release notes. They went through the release notes to prepare the test plan, right? And now probably just because the release notes were not so elaborate, they have probably assumed few things, and that's where some of the things like I provided the comment that this feature doesn't exist. Yeah, so they may have added those test cases, whatever we provided from the SD code developer. I'm not sure, but this is something they started on their own. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, that's right, because the cases that dev team has executed, definitely that would hold true, but as a QA flavor, we need to add more rigorous testing there.
So thing is that the time, and I mean, I can probably go ahead and provide all the comments to the outstanding thing, right? But we want to see how fast we go to the automation, and then at least start this CI/CD thing again, right? For those automated test cases, because that's something important, right? As soon as we have few test cases up and running, then every pull request should go through those testing.
Yes,
that's something we should bring it back.
Yeah, I completely agree, and that's really for the TST here, to kind of guide. But I suspect there's agreement on this.
Yeah, this all sounds good. It's helpful to get clarity on all of this.
So in that case, what it summarizes is basically, let's complete whatever, let's complete executing the test cases, whatever is clear to the QA right now by this week, and then from the next week start thinking about automating the ones those have been already executed. Is that the right understanding?
Yeah, I think that sounds right.
Okay, we'll do that.
Okay, let's very quickly talk about the Gnode B. I'm sorry, the 4G case, the eNode B case. So it sounds like you've connected it to the control plane, and you're working on the data plane routing issues, which are always tricky, and ask for further steps. Is it possible? I believe it's possible to dump a config file out of the Seracom Gnode B that we could then use as the gold standard for configuring it.
Yeah, we can do that. The only thing is, just wanted to correct that this is the 4G Node B that we have is not the Sercom one. It is from the IP access, which is now Mavenir.
Oh, well, then that doesn't help me. Okay. Well, I mean, having the gold standard as to setting the eNode B is good. So.
Okay. So we can still export it and keep it somewhere.
Yeah. I think that will be good for other people that are. If we had that for each of the physical eNode Bs that we have, that people can know they've got a good configuration, that would be helpful.
Right. Sure. Yeah.
Are you able to do the iPerf test? Well, the data plane will tell you whether you can do the iPerf
No,
test.
we
We'll
didn't
see
have
that
to.
next time.
No.
Conscious of the time, Daph, do you want to talk about version control bullet down here?
Yeah, just real quick. There have been some issues with Garrett and GitHub synchronization and replication. Those issues have been identified and resolved, and everything should be synced up correctly. Let me know if you see any problems. Double check your data if you had an issue. One question for TST, approach me afterwards if you have any input here, is there is an empty repository in the open core in the ONOS project called ONOS itself, just plain ONOS. If you know anything about it, please let me know. But no need to take up rest of this meeting.
Hey,
No,
David, since
is that ONOS project / ONOS? That's the SDN controller.
It's completely empty.
It's not being mirrored, maybe.
Say that again, please.
It's possible it's just not being mirrored.
Oh, it's not being mirrored, but it is empty inside Garrett.
Oh, it's inside of Garrett, it's empty.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's mirrored from GitHub, ONOS project / ONOS.
Oh, it goes the other way, yeah.
Okay, let me talk to you offline then.
I think in the ONOS case, if Sean, correct me if I'm wrong, it's Garrett is mirrored from GitHub instead of the other way around.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, well, let me figure that out then. Thank you. That's the only
David,
application issue is
yeah, since Hey, David, since last week, I see the issues with the Gerrit SSH based clone.
Yep.
It always fails with the permission denied, and I had to use the HTTPS for the authentication purpose. Is there any known issues with that?
Sorry,
So I
just
do have added the
clone
SSH
or,
keys in
accessing?
Gerrit.
I'm sorry, start again.
Oh, cloning. So I see that if I try to clone the repositories, for example, Aether in a box, it fails. It says permission issue, but if I use the HTTP based clone, it works. And this has been consistent for last 1 week when I tried to clone multiple repositories. Yeah, maybe is there any changes around the?
There's what I did for the replication would not address that. Let me look at it today.
Oh yeah. It may not have relation, but I'm just trying to bring it up because this
Yeah.
is the
No,
change
thank you
I'm
for letting
seeing
me know.
since last week.
Let me take a look at it. Why would it? Okay. Anyway. All right. Thank you.
I can show you the screenshot how it looks like. You can look at it.
Yeah, if you can just DM it to me, that'd be great in Slack.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Just one bullet here, since we talked about it last week. I have made a couple edits to this document, the testing and versioning document. It is now 100, I believe it's fair to say 100% consistent with the way that OnRamp does it, which is a slightly different than Aether in a box, but at least it represents something concrete. Take a look at that and make comments if you have any. Well, I mean, it's the meta issue here is if there's value in preserving old releases. I think there is, but maybe it's yet to be proven.
Yeah, I mean, are we saying that we will select some of them as kind of an LTS or something like this?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is probably a good place to decide which ones. You know, I saw you had 2.1.35. I didn't think that was that valuable. I thought 2.1.33 was
That's a very
valuable.
valid point to make, and it was the most recent one that was before the 36. So I went ahead and saved it, but I would agree 33 is probably the better one.
Yeah.
Well, all right. So that's a really good point. TST judgment as to what's value, whatever. And spell judgment right. Okay, that's just sort of an FYI note. So maybe I shortchanged something earlier, but we're near the top of the hour. Does anyone else have anything that didn't get enough coverage here? All right. Feels like we keep inching closer to solid ground, which is progress. Much work still to do.
But it's tough every stage of the way.
Yeah. Our problems are starting to feel more like typical open source project problems as opposed to trying to find the way to the surface so you can take a breath again.
Yeah. We're swimming on the surface.
All right. Well, thanks everyone, and talk to you all next week. Bye.